Tell me if you can hear Uncle Mosh. I know you can see me, and you can hear me. So now tell me if you can hear Uncle Mosh. All right, there's audio now. Okay, go for it, Uncle Mosh.
We're doing our prep, right? And of course, Raider Nation, I tell him all the time, push the damn button. The last thing I say to him, push the button. I got it, Uncle Mosh. Don't tell me what to do. It's my man cave. I'm like, push the button.
All right.
So anyway, I read.
Yeah, that's exactly how I talk, too. That's exactly how it sounds. Right.
So I go, okay. So did you push the button? Yeah, I pushed the button. Okay, so we're looking on here. We're going, hey, all these people are in. Oh, yeah, it's great. Ron's here. Adam's here. Chris Potts is here. Chevy Raider's here. Chevy Raider chimes in, and he says, oh, man, Murph, you decided to go live while I'm in the shower, LOL, right? And we laughed about that. We kidded. Couple more minutes go by, and Chevy chimes in. He says, yeah, I'm just chilling, listening to Murf and Mosh while showering little Chevy.
That's pretty funny. So we could have a whole discussion on the logistics of how Chevy Raider got his phone in the shower, Mosh.
Yeah, I used to have one of those. I had a flip phone. Man, I wish I had my flip phone.
Oh, I remember that one.
I love that one.
I remember we were at like a Thanksgiving or something, and you were like, oh, Mosh, you get a new phone. And you're like, yeah, it's really cool. It's waterproof. And we're like, really? It's waterproof? And you went, yeah, look. And you went, boom, and like dunked it into like your drink.
Yeah, I'm like, call me.
That was pretty cool. So, hey, so real quick, in the chat there, a bunch of you have already joined us, and thank you for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio for episode number 118. So, if you ever want to listen to us live, you can check us out on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Murf's Fan Cave, MURFS Fan Cave. And so when you watch us live, you can participate in the show, which is awesome. It's one of our favorite things about the show is the Raiders fan community. And there's a lot of you already in there that are joining us. I can't scroll up, but Q-Dog is in there, of course. Sean Grogan, DT the Sun, Coach Randy Hansen. What's up, Coach? Raider Critique, Running Bear is in there. Ron the Wrench is in there. Chris Rubio, Chris Potts, Raider Trav, Raider Critique, Pirate 1975, Adam Hill, Herman Munster, a whole bunch in there. And also our buddy, Just Win Johnny. And Mosh, I'm pointing out Just Win Johnny,
right.
particularly, not only because he's a super talented guy and does a lot of cool graphics, but he's got a cool new starter graphic coming up. And so he said, I know, Murph, you rock starter stuff. And so I talked about this thing a few weeks ago, and I never showed it on the show, so I'm wearing it now. So you can see there, for those of you that are on the YouTube there's the starter logo, and this is my old school starter jacket.
I love that. I keep waiting for two things to happen.
Okay.
Me to lose 80 pounds and you to leave that laying around.
So this thing's cool. It's way too hot here in the fan cave for me to wear it for the show, but I'll show you the back of it here too. So it's really cool. And it's got of course the Raiders logo there.
Yeah, nice.
Which is so cool. And it's got the holster zipper on the side.
Sure, and everybody remembers starter jackets were all the rage, man.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
Years and years.
Yeah, so it was really cool. So I told the story about how my brother found this at my dad's place and sent it to me, and it was awesome. It's awesome. So appreciate Alan, my little brother, for doing that, and so appreciate all of you joining us, and thank you, Just Win Johnny, for joining us and bringing up the starter stuff there, my friend. All right, so as I mentioned, you could join us on YouTube every week. Live here in the Fan Cave where we do this thing called Raiders Fan Radio. And so this week we're doing episode number 118. And we got not a ton to get to. There's not a ton of news out there, but we do have a few fun stories to get to you, of course. If you want to listen to us on the audio podcast, you can always listen to us on any of your favorite podcast services like Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you get your audio podcasts. And if you're an Android user, you can download the the Murf Fan Cave app and get not only this show, Raiders Fan Radio, but you can get all three of the shows on our network, which is this one. It is Mondays with Mikey and Murph when that one's going, and then the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead, Tom, and Fitz. And Uncle Mosh has got some contact information for you, and so we'll have him play that, and then we'll jump into number 118.
All right, boys and girls, pay attention. You got your old Uncle Mosh here with an update. That's right. I got some stuff for you. Take out a piece of paper, a pencil, a pen. Heck, use your pocket knife and carve the info into your dashboard as you're driving down the highway. First off, you need to like us on our fan page on Facebook. That's right. Go to Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Don't forget about the Twitter. You know your old Uncle Mosh, he twits now. That's right. Go to at Raiders Fan Radio. Also, don't forget the Instagram at Raiders Fan Radio. Or what about our website? That's right, RaidersFanRadio.com. Heck, if you want to, you can even email us, show@RaidersFanRadio.com, or call us on the Raiders Fan Radio hotline, 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Don't forget Murf's Fan Cave on the YouTube, where you can get all the show links like the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Find all our stuff on podcast providers like Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. All right, did I hit the time limit? Good.
You know, Mosh, here in the fan cave and at your fan cave, your man cave at Casa de or Del Mosh there, we like stuff, man.
We're so into stuff.
We're into stuff. We're not, I wouldn't call us materialistic individuals, but we do like stuff.
We like stuff.
We like stuff. We like swag.
Swag is the best.
You gotta have your swag. So there's a couple of ways that we want to kind of hip our listeners to get some new swag. All right.
Okay. Talk to me.
So first off, there's a link in our show description here on YouTube, and it will also be in the audio podcast. If you need new Raiders gear, if you need a new era hat like I'm wearing, or if you need a new player jersey like Marcel Reese back here, or you want a personalized jersey or whatever it may be, please, if you're going to go to NFLshop.com, hit the link on our description and go to NFLshop.com that way. When you hit the link, it'll take you directly to the Raiders spot, and then anything you buy on there, it will go towards, a portion of that will go towards a fund that we're setting up, and we're going to donate that money. We may use a part of it to pay for the show, but only a small, very small portion of it, if even we do. But the majority of it, we want to give it away. We had some fantastic ideas last week from the guys in the chat as far as different charities, Mosh. Bolitnikoff Foundation got thrown out there. Derek Carr's charity, Valley Hospital, got thrown out there. There's a handful of them. And so keep those ideas coming, and that's what we're going to do with the money. So if you need new Raider gear, go through that website link, please, and buy your gear that way at NFLshop.com. Then also, if you need a new T-shirt, Mosh, give it to them. There is the new Raiders Fan Radio T-shirt. So as you can see, these are the proofs that we mentioned last week. They made it in, and gosh, Mosh!
Sorry.
What you doing?
Sorry.
Jeez.
We had our biggest ratings in the double shuffle last time.
Jeez.
That was for my home. That was for my boys in New Jersey. I promised them I'd do it.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes you just got to do a little truffle shuffle.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's a good thing Uncle Mosh manscapes. All right, so anyways, you can
you know what's funny?
Not show anymore. That's the end.
So
You're making my glasses fog up already.
You're gonna end up putting me in with the belt around me in the chair, so I can't stand up.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna put you in time out there. All right, so the Get Made shirts. So we're gonna have these for sale up on our website very soon. These were just the proofs. We're going to get the rest of them in soon, and then we'll have them for sale. And then so you can buy them on the website. And then for those of you that are coming to the draft, though, you can grab it from us in person. And we'll be glad to sell you a T-shirt there. Again, and we're not making money off this stuff. We're going to give the money away, but we're going to sell these shirts. And so I hope you guys dig the Get Made shirts. And of course, that in reference to our made men here on Raiders Fan Radio.
So Monster Mash Ken goes, "Hey, Uncle Mosh, for the radio listeners that don't know, I was showing off the shirt. and I pulled up the shirt and I did a little truffle shuffle. I just
got a little bit of your belly in
a
there.
couple seconds of the belly, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of 60 years of work went into that. Okay, there's a lot of lasagna there, and Chris Potts loves it when I I show off the little belly. Monster Mash goes, "Oh my goodness, you ought to get a tat on that belly saying welcome to the jungle."
Oh my God.
I'd have to play the theme song
That's
every
perfect.
time. Every time I truffle shuffle.
So speaking of that, I got to show you a funny picture. For those of you that are listening audio-wise, you're not going to be able to see the picture. I'll describe it for you, though. So Potts sent me this picture because he got Uncle Mosh to do the truffle shuffle last week.
Right.
Now this is back-to-back weeks. I'm kind of afraid of what week 3 is going to look like. But back-to-back weeks, Chris Potts has gotten Uncle Mosh to do the truffle shuffle. And so he sent me this picture, and what it is he took a crop of Uncle Mosh's face, and then he put it on Chunk's body. It's hilarious. So I told Potts that I would share this with you, Mosh, on the show this week.
Nice. Thanks, Chris.
So there's your picture for
we
Chris.
might get a T-shirt made just like that for him.
Yeah. And have it just say "Get Potts."
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Chris goes, "We have lasagna at our tailgates, Uncle Mosh."
You won't if you invite Uncle Mosh. You better double up on that order.
Oh, man.
All right. So anyway, appreciate you all supporting the show in the way that you do. And again, if you need swag, hit us up for a T-shirt. And then if you're gonna buy online, hit up our link hit up our link that will take you to NFLshop.com. All right, Uncle Mosh. Let's see. You already played our contact info. So here in Raiders Fan Radio, we like to give respect.
We do give respect.
We give respect. We don't do props. We don't do shout-outs. Nothing wrong with those things. But here we do respect.
We do it our way.
We do it our way.
We're like the chairman of the board. He did it his way. We do it our way.
Where he's over here.
Yeah, that's right.
That guy right there, Sinatra. He told us, don't be a name dropper.
Nope.
That's right.
He always said that.
He always said that. Every time we talk to Sinatra, he says, hey, don't be a name dropper. We said, all right. I'll make sure I let Sammy Davis know, too.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to give respect. So a few guys want to give respect. First off, we'll do kind of the down note. Condolences to the folks at Stringer.
Just breaks my heart, dude.
It sucks. So Stringer, we had Johnny Spencer, who is a Raiders fan, drummer for the band. We had him on Raiders Fan Radio a few months ago. Great guy. Had a lot of fun talking to him and got familiar with their music and with their whole vibe and everything. And great group of guys, fun guys. And sadly, Mark Fletcher, the lead singer of Stringer, passed away this week. And so we want to send up our condolences and rest in peace to him. And we didn't know Mark, but we know Johnny, obviously. And so sad news there.
Long time. They were like lifelong buddies, and just I'm gonna play their soundbite later in a minute, but just super guys, man.
Absolutely.
Go check out their videos if you haven't already, and for sure, definitely condolences that way.
Absolutely. Okay, so on a lighter note, to give respect, Mosh, right behind Mosh also, this is going to be the Behind the Mosh hour. So there's a flag up there, an NWO red and black flag. So Uncle Mosh and I, going back, were huge fans of that era of wrestling. For those of you who don't know, that's a professional wrestling reference. That's to a group, the New World Order, that was part of WCW and then eventually WWF and E as they merged. So anyway, we're big wrestling fans. Uncle Mosh, not only are we big fans, but Uncle Mosh has done joint promotions with, nationally known guys that aren't around wrestling actively anymore.
Dirty Dutch Mantel.
Yeah, guys
Kane came to my classroom and
absolutely
before he was a big name.
Before he was Kane, right?
Yeah, it was 1996, 97, something like that, and came and spoke to my kids. It was awesome. It was super cool. Brian Christopher. I mean, there was a ton of them that were there. And then about 4 years ago, you and I ran into some of the guys at that event that we went
was
to.
amazing. Yeah,
and they remembered us.
Yeah,
and it was like, wow.
And we met X-Pac, and we met a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah,
That was really cool. So So we're big fans of this stuff, and like I said, and Uncle Mosh especially, he's the one that really got me into it. I was into it a little bit, but he really got me into it a lot. And that era is kind of like our favorite era. Like back then, like the late 90s, early 2000s era of wrestling is our favorite. And so anyway, so Uncle Mosh and I used to do these joint promotions at this bar that I worked at, and we would have people come in dressed in sumo suits and wrestle each other. Uncle Mosh also, in terms of that's not real wrestling, but not choreographed wrestling, but for real, like
scholastic wrestling.
Scholastic. Uncle Mosh was a very long time coach, and actually coached state champions, and a very, very successful career as a coach. So Uncle Mosh, having that background, he used to bring his wrestling mats to this bar I worked at, and we would put down wrestling mats on the dance floor and dress people up in these big padded sumo suits and have them get all drunk and fight each other. It was
oh my god, we had more fun.
I don't know how we didn't get sued
because we didn't have anything back then.
That's true. So anyway, so with all this wrestling background, our buddy Monster Mash Ken, the creator of Little Murf and good friend of the show, supporter of Raiders Fan Radio, has these. He follows actually. We got followed by a podcast called Wolfpack Nation on Twitter.
Right.
Then I found out that it was linked to Ken. And I asked him, I said, is this the Wolfpack like the NWO Wolfpack? And he said, yes, that very one. So Ken has started this podcast. So congratulations to him. Also, congratulations to Bobby Wasabi, who also joins us in the chat room.
Sure.
It's those two, and I believe there's another guy that I don't know who the third guy was, but so those two guys that are friends of ours, show friends of ours. So those two guys have started this podcast. They're going to do wrestling. They're going to do Raiders stuff. They're going to do, like, I'm like, this sounds amazing.
Yeah,
and
so,
So he's like, well, would you guys want to come on? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm like, dude, do you need a home? I'm like, that would fit in on the fan cave. Like, I mean, so it's, anyway, congratulations to you guys. I think it's an awesome endeavor. And then so all this is going on. So with Ken, also at this around the same time, somebody puts out a tweet that says, I'm tired of all the negativity. Say something positive. So Ken puts out this tweet and says, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, my day is always more enjoyable when I listen to, and then he lists off like 10 different podcasters.
Nice,
okay?
nice.
And he includes us in there. Very gracious of him,
Oh,
right?
sweet.
Puts us in there. Well, this thread blows up. My phone, Mosh, I had to turn off the notification. Like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of notifications as people are responding to this and joining in. And ultimately, and the reason that I brought up all this to begin with is that Amy Trask got copied on this, and she fired back about how nice it was that all this positivity was going on amongst all these Raider fans and Raider podcasters and all this stuff. And so that was really cool. That was a nice end to this whole big giant Twitter thread. And it was all started by Monster Mash Ken. So,
oh man, yeah, no kidding. You know what? We need to follow that up and get Amy on the show.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, after we book Derek Carr and John Gruden, then we'll get to Amy Trask.
She should be before that.
Yeah. It's so funny when people say it, like, you know what? You guys should get Madden on your show. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You guys should get Mark Davis.
Oh,
sure.
You got his number?
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead and tweet me or share his contacts with me.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Send me that contact info. We'll get right on. All right. So I got two more for you. First off, let's go and redirect it directly back to the Raiders. I want to share a feel-good story with you about a flag football team that won their, the NFL does all these sponsored.
Yeah, I love that.
Flag football teams. Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, the team, I don't know what the age group is. By the looks of them, they're probably 10. These kids down in Orlando won the NFL-sponsored flag football championship. Well, they're the Raiders. They're the Apex Raiders is their name. And don't you know, man, the freaking Raiders themselves, the Oakland, soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders, reached out to this group of kids and coaches and invited them to Vegas. And not only did they get to go to Vegas, they got to tour the new facilities.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they had all this, like, swag and all this stuff and got the royal treatment. So I want to play some audio for you. This is the Apex Raiders flag football team visiting the Oakland Raiders in Vegas, or the Vegas Raiders, whatever.
Yeah.
You know
the Raiders.
The Raiders.
The Apex flag football team, 9 and 10-year-old, they were able to go to Orlando during the Pro Bowl and win the national championship. And in winning the national championship, they were able to come out today and have a tour of the stadium.
Every game that we play, the grass will be perfect. That whole field tray will slide on wheels into the building.
We got to have a tour of the inside. It was really cool. We got to see how the game plan of what they're going to build. And we got to see this very nice stadium, and we got surprised with that we're going to get Raider tickets to a game.
You will be at a Raiders game this upcoming season.
It means the world to them, seeing that they're the first team out here to do this. Got some Raider fans over there, so this is something they'll never forget.
And doing the supporting, it just shows the love, and that's what the Raiders is about.
1, 2, 3, Raiders!
All right, good stuff there from the Raiders, man. I love it.
So cool.
Absolutely. Those are my favorite kinds of stories, man, when they do that, the stuff with whether it's veteran players or a group of kids like this, anything community outreach, anytime they reach out to people and then bring them into the fold, man, that's one of the things the Raiders do, and they do it unlike anybody else. So pretty cool there. Much respect to the Raiders. And congratulations to the Apex Raiders for winning their championship. That's one more championship than the big Raiders won recently. So definitely congratulations to them. All right, one more for you. As far as respect goes, Mosh, before we get into episode 118 and the significance of 118, for those of you that remember our buddy David Northrup, David is a professional touring drummer that's a friend of ours. He's actually a neighbor of mine now, and he's been a good friend for like 8 years now. And he joined us here. He's a Steelers fan, so we had him in for Steelers Week here in the fan cave and talked to him about that. But David is, he's pretty well known around town in Music City, and he's played with, some pretty big names, people from like Travis Tritt and Boz Scaggs and Winona and like you name. I mean, his resume is longer than I can give you off the top of my head. It's lengthy, and it's a lot of very recognizable folks. Anyway, so he knows a lot of very recognizable people. Well, there's a band, Mosh, called Tesla. I don't know if you ever heard of Tesla.
Yeah.
All right. So Tesla's been around since like the mid to late 80s, and they're still going strong, man. Well, they're from the Bay Area. They're actually, from Sacramento. Some of the guys are like from Hayward, but they're a Northern California group. Okay. So the lead singer, Jeff Keith of Tesla, is a Raiders fan. And I've known this for a while, and I've actually talked to David about it, and he's kind of reached out to the guys and let them know that we were interested in talking to Jeff maybe if there was an opportunity. Well, they've been so busy, and they've been touring, and they recorded a new album and whatever, so there wasn't really an opportunity yet for us to get an interview. I'm still hoping for that. But what David did, though, was that Tesla played at the world-famous Ryman Auditorium last night, and he invited me to go with him. And so I went with David to the Ryman to go see Tesla, and we got to go backstage and hang out and so all these guys, okay, so I mentioned they're from Northern California, so they're famous in the Northern California rock scene, right? So do you remember a band named called Y&T?
Absolutely.
Okay, remember they're East Bay band, right? Okay, Y&T. So at the Ryman, we're in the second row of the balcony. It's David, me, and I'm sitting, so it's David and then the guitar player for Y&T, me, and then the guy that engineered Tesla's fourth record.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like sitting there with like these industry, and I'm like, this is crazy, man. This is just absolutely, so it's like, and that guy, the guy from Y&T, he's from Oakland, actually, and so we talked a little bit about the Bay Area and whatnot, but it was just a really cool thing. It was a really nice thing for David to do, and so I know it's only loosely related, Raider Nation, but I got to give our buddy David Northrup props.
Everything's
man.
related, Raider Nation wise.
Well, we find a way to make it that way for sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool. So major props to David, and thank you for inviting me into the fold, man. It's rock and roll, man. It's wild, man. It's cool. Like it wasn't like craziness or nothing. These guys are older. You know what I mean? They're older than I am. Not as they're right in between us. You know what I mean? And,
cool.
and age-wise. And so they're chilled out, but it's still just bananas backstage. There's just not thousands, but there's like hundreds of people. It's just crazy. Anyways, all right. So let's get on to some Raiders stuff. So we are in episode number 118 of Raiders Fan Radio. And we always tie our show number back to something that is Raiders related, something significant in the team's history. Sometimes that could be a player, that could be a yardage total. Well, in this case, Mosh, tonight, it's a date. So 118 could also be 118 or 11-8. So we're going to go with 11-8, which is November 8th, back to 1963. So why in the heck would we bring up November 8th from 1963? Well, November 8th of 63, Mosh, who was the Raiders head coach?
The one and only chairman of the board, Al Davis.
That's right. Al Davis is your coach. And on that day, we played the Kansas City Chiefs, and we whipped them. We beat them 22-7. And here's some fun facts about November 8th, 1963. So as I mentioned, your head coach is Al Davis. Your starting quarterback, any guesses there, chat room? Tom Flores, should be Hall of Famer Tom Flores is your starting quarterback. Clem Daniels is your running back. And Art Powell is your leading receiver in the game.
Wow.
So definitely cool. Not a lot. Those are some names that, we reflect a lot back on Raiders history, but we don't talk a lot about guys like Daniels and Powell and going back. And Ken Hurrock is on there. But defensively, we're looking at Fred Williamson, the Hammer.
Yeah,
right?
man.
Before he became a Chief, he became a Chief. But before he was a Chief, he was a Raider. So
before he became an actor.
Before he became an actor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hunter.
Is that what he
That
was?
was the name of his show. He was a cop.
No,
Hunter.
that's Fred Dwyer.
Oh, that's Fred Dwyer, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm old.
I remember Fred Williamson from those of you that have ever seen the movie From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the guy. There's Mean Machine, which is Tom Savini, and then
Right,
and then he's
right.
the other guy, the other biker guy. And so, anyways, so that's
You know
Fred
what's really cool? I almost called you Mosh. You know what's I'm getting everybody's names mixed up.
Yeah.
What's really cool? Go back and look at the logos from those days.
Oh yeah, so
That's
here,
really
you got
awesome.
it there. You got it there.
Yeah.
Put it up on your camera. I just crumpled my
there's
sheet.
the Cheats logo.
We
but
know
that's
ours,
not-
right?
But there's the important one right
Yeah.
there. That's so cool.
That is so
it
cool.
was the shield, and it was before the shield was all black, and it was like silver underneath, and it said the Oakland Raiders, and but it was cool.
Absolutely.
It was just, that old school logo is just.
I like that old school
really
look. I
awesome.
kind of almost, I don't want to say I like it better because it's just it's the Raiders shield is so iconic. The new one,
Yeah.
This one, right? But it's cool, man. Like when I play Madden and stuff, a lot of times I'll take that old NFL. I'll put the old AFL logo on there. It's pretty cool. But all right, so Mosh, let's get to the news desk, huh?
Where? Oh, sorry.
Hey everybody, this is Johnny Spencer from the punk rock band Stringer, and you're listening to Raiders Fan Radio with Murf and Uncle Mosh. Go Raiders, baby.
All right, so next up here on Raiders Fan Radio, we got a few news stories to get to. Nothing major. We're going to get into plenty of the draft and all that good stuff later, so just stay tuned with us there. But before we get to all that, we're going to do a few fun little stories here. Number one is if I asked you who the most famous 24 was for the Oakland Raiders, there's a few good answers in there, right? So you got the newest famous 24, which is Beast Mode, of course.
Sure.
And then if we want to go old school, Mosh.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, give it to him.
Well, before we go there.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is totally off.
Yeah.
Totally out there.
Yeah.
My favorite 24,
Okay.
Willie Mays.
Oh.
I know it's not Raiders.
Yeah.
But,
That's a good
That's
one.
where my heart's at.
That's a good one.
Because, I just all those years we spent at Candlestick Park with Grandma Jenny.
Yeah. That's a good one,
Oh,
Mosh.
man. And when we were and I know that when we were talking about it, we talked. I'm in this mode, so I'm beast mode. But anytime I hear 24, I immediately
You just think of Mays.
I go Mays.
Right.
I go Mays.
Well, and he's the more famous of 24s, right? So, okay, that's fair. Absolutely fair. So in terms of Raiderness, though, we got of course Marshawn, and then Willie Brown, and then Charles Woodson.
Charles Woodson,
So
yeah, your favorite.
my favorite.
Your
so,
24,
yeah, absolutely. So just I mean, other than 12, it's probably the most iconic. It might even be more iconic than 12, because 12, even though it's Stabler, Gannon, yes, but I mean, I don't know. It's close. 24 might be. That might, what's because that's 75 is how. This would be a fun conversation. We need to tell us, chat room here. Let me hit the chat real quick. Pirate 1975, Chris Potts. I like it spooky. James M. Q Dog is in there. Raider critique. What's the most iconic Raiders number? To me, it's always been 12, but that's maybe because that's just Stabler's my favorite player. 75, of course, is iconic, and then 24. But 24
rules for us.
Might be it, man. It might be it, because what else? What other big numbers? 32 because of Tatum and Allen. That's pretty big.
I love the fact that we don't retire numbers.
I know. I do too. And because of this reason is one of the ones I like it, because I like the idea that you can have multiple players. So, and I noticed no one's saying Michael Huff for 24, but but yeah, man, I don't know. 30, I'd say 32, 12, and 24. Those have got.
But you're talking about iconic for the Raiders. 00 for Otto.
Oh, that's true.
00, man.
That's true.
Where in football was there another 00? Was there one?
Well, there wasn't since him. I think he was the last one to wear.
The last 00?
Yeah. And so and here's a trivia question for those of you that don't know. I'm sure many of you already know this, but the reason that Otto wore 00 was because that's how you pronounce that number is Otto.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you would say 06 for an 06.
Sure.
000 is Otto. So that's why he wore the number 00. That's a good one. That's a really good one too. Good one there, Mosh. So all right. So anyways, all that before that tangent, the reason I got on the number 24 was because we almost had another iconic 24
really
that played for the Raiders, and I'm talking about number 24 that played for the Oakland A's, Ricky Henderson.
Yeah.
So there was a story that came out this week. Now, Ricky's one of my all-time favorite baseball players. Going back, there's been a lot of A's players that have become Yankees and broke my heart that way, or become Cardinals or whatever. And he's just another one of them. So I know he played a lot of the other places, but to me, he will always be in Oakland A. Plus, he broke Lou Brock's record when he was playing for the A's. He famously said, "Today I'm the greatest."
Right.
You know what I mean? All that stuff. So I love Ricky. I love Ricky's stories. Anyway, so Ricky said this week, and so this is I quote, "When Bo Jackson first came into the league, I went to Al Davis to go play football, and he was going to let me be a two-way player. Then the Oakland A's stepped in and said, 'No way, you're not going out there. That's not going to happen.'" So this isn't the first time the A's have kind of screwed up the Raiders a little bit, or recently it wasn't the first time they did. So back then, that to me would have been fascinating. He would have played running back, and Ricky was. I mean, he was the most You don't see explosiveness out of a baseball player very often. Not like that, right? You see explosion at the plate, right? But you don't see explosive speed like that. I think he's one of those few guys that, like Bo, that explosiveness could have translated. What do you think?
Yeah, well, rumor has it that Charlie Finley said, "You want to get tackled on the dirt? Slide into second base with your cleats up high."
Oh, really?
Okay, I just made that up.
Okay, but that was, you should have stuck with it. You had me hook, line, and
But I
sinker.
wasn't sure that Finley was still in charge then or not.
Oh, he wasn't, but
no.
that's
I tell my students all the time, half the crap I tell you I make up anyway. But no, seriously though, man, how incredible would that have been?
That would have been really cool. So, and especially being there in the same city, like when Dion did it, so Dion was a Brave and a Falcon at the same time. So I guess it would have been definitely the equivalent of that. But I think Ricky would have definitely, he certainly had the athleticism.
Oh, and the attitude.
And the
buddy.
attitude. Yeah, he would have been Le'Veon Bell before Le'Veon.
How cool would that have been if he'd have stayed with the Raiders and gotten traded to somewhere else? So he'd have still come back to Oakland.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
that would be cool. That would have been cool. That would definitely be cool. All right, so one more. So speaking of Oakland, one more for you. Oakland native C.J. Anderson this week had some really, really cool quotes in support of the Raiders. Excuse me. there was a lot of criticism thrown the Raiders' way when they let C.J. Henderson go. I think we had him for like 4 days or something like that.
Sure.
Because he went on to the Rams and played very, very well for the Rams during their stretch run headed into the Super Bowl and taking a lot of playing time from Todd Gurley. I don't think that story's ever fully come out on why CJ got so many carries over Todd Gurley. Everybody speculated over injuries and whatnot. But at the end of the day, CJ was the man, and he's an Oakland guy. We featured some of his comments earlier in the year because they were really funny because he's an Oakland guy. His mom is a season ticket holder.
Right,
and
right.
she said, honey, because he was playing with the Broncos at the time, said, when you come to town, I'll root for you when you got the ball. But outside of that, I'm not rooting for you. I'm a Raider fan. Which is awesome. So anyway, CJ came out and supported the Raiders this week. They were asking him about kind of his experience there. And he just said, look, I'll say this about the Raiders and for all the Raiders fans out there. John Gruden is doing the right things when it comes to preparation and game planning. I grew up in the Bay, so I have some bias, but believe me in where it's going. I don't know what's going to happen in the draft and what's going to happen in free agency, but as far as how to prepare and how to get your team ready to play a football game, John Gruden is doing the right thing.
That's crazy,
That's
man.
awesome, man. It's so good. And the only reason I didn't play the audio is because it was from one of those stupid, hot take shows, which I can't stand.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna give them any additional.
No.
Not that they need us, but I don't want to celebrate them in any way. So I don't want to play the audio, but I want to celebrate CJ. That is a really cool thing
That's
for him to
great,
do.
man.
He's not a Raider, but he's still a fan of the team, and so pretty cool that he came out.
Well, and he's a fan of home cooked meals. So he's not, he's not about to go against Mama.
That's true. Absolutely. All right, Mosh. Okay, so we got one more news story for you. I don't know if you noticed, but the Oakland Raiders, Mosh, are officially homeless. Did you notice that? Have you seen that in the news at all?
Yeah, but most of what I see in the news pertaining to the Raiders, I go, swipe left.
So the Raiders are homeless. They're still negotiating with the city of Oakland. Let me back up. There's been talk about where the Raiders are going to play a lot lately. We've interviewed Councilman William Parker from the city of Birmingham. We're actually going to interview him again in the very near future. We might even do it in person down at Legion Field. He's been in touch with us quite a bit, which we appreciate. And so anyway, so there's a lot of speculation, a lot of negotiation going on, but the Raiders haven't said a dang thing. All this, every time you see a news story about where the Raiders are going to play, the Raiders aren't the genesis of any of it. It's all just people speculating and reporting based on second and third hand information. So anyways, as of right now, the Raiders have negotiated or at least talked to multiple locations. Well, now ultimately it seems, based on the reporting, that they're very close to securing a one potential 2-year deal with the city of Oakland, or at least with the Coliseum Authority. That doesn't mean the city's going to approve it yet, but which is still a little bit of a wild card. Remember that, Raider Nation. But at least they're negotiating with the Coliseum Authority, which are the people that run the facility. So we're right now we're still homeless.
So,
but there's
can we call it the Raiders are in free agency?
Yeah. Is that better than homeless?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's call it that.
Okay. So the Raiders are in free agency. And we're currently being courted by multiple whatchamacallit?
Multiple organizations.
Multiple organizations to employ the services of the Oakland Raiders at their facility. So we'll see where this thing goes. I hope it's Oakland. I mean, as much as we've been appreciative of Councilman Parker and heard many good stories about what London might have to offer and all the other places. Look, they belong in Oakland. Let's finish it up in Oakland, and then before we get off.
It's funny. Raider Critique chimes in the chat, and he says, "Hey, he goes, the Raiders are just doing their civic duty. They want to be homeless like the rest of California." Jeez.
That's actually pretty funny. That's actually pretty fun. It was fun when I shouldn't say this. I'm going to offend somebody. Oh, I'll tell it anyways.
They'll just
get over yourself if it's offensive.
Give us another dislike. We already got one.
So when my brother moved out here to go to school for a while, And when he moved out here, and I took him to downtown Nashville, and we were bebopping around all over Middle Tennessee and stuff. And I go, so what do you think? And he goes, man, it's really cool. He goes, I can't believe how clean everything is. And he goes, and there's no homeless people. And I go, yeah, man. I go, we got like one, and he's here on vacation from San Francisco.
Oh. What a bad man you are.
I know. Well, hey, look, you could talk about your own. We grew up there, man. We could we could talk about our own. You know what I mean?
Talk about our own.
Nobody else can talk about them, but we can. All right. So another thing about this. Okay. So they're gonna play hopefully in Oakland.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna speak for you. We, as the governing body of Murf's Fan Cave and Murf's Fan Cave, DBA Raiders Fan Radio, have come to a joint decision, and from henceforth, Mosh, we will only refer to the stadium in which the Oakland Raiders play as the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum.
Correct.
That's the only name it's ever had. That's the only name it's ever gonna have.
The only name we'll ever refer to it
That's
by.
going to be it. From now on, you will always be the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum to us because that's what we grew up with. And it doesn't matter what corporate sponsorship chooses to get involved. We will not recognize you. You will not have the floor here on Raiders Fan Radio. We will only answer to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. And the reason that I bring that up, Mosh, is because there's a new naming sponsor for the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, and it is Ring Central. So now it's going to be the Ring Central Coliseum.
Come on, are you serious?
It's so stupid. It's so dumb. That's the word. I get that they want the money, and I get that you got to sell your naming rights to a corporation, but Ring Central, like, that doesn't have a good ring to it. You know what I mean? Like, it just it doesn't work, Mosh. I don't care for it. I'm not going to call it Ring Central, and I hope none of you call it Ring Central either. But so in knowing this now and learning this, I thought it'd be kind of fun to dig up some of the old names.
Okay.
Of the
let's
Coliseum.
go with some of them.
Go ahead. So give us the rundown, Mosh.
So of course it was, as we know, as we grew up, as it shall always be, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. Then in 1998, from 1998 to 2004, a 6-year deal with Networks Associates Coliseum. What did they call it? The NAC? What? Are you serious?
Pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Isn't NAC? Isn't that a prison term for a non-gang affiliated inmate?
I don't know.
I think it is.
Oh, did you learn that on the inside?
Witness protection is a wonderful thing. Then in 2004 to 2008, on a 4-year deal, McAfee Coliseum.
Yeah. The Mac.
The Mac.
The Mac. The Mick.
Stop.
Mick.
So
Oh,
we went
gosh.
from the NAC to the Mac.
Yeah.
And then in 2011, the Overstock.com Coliseum. So we're the Overstock.com Coliseum. And then the OCO.
Now, that wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad.
Now, of these, now look, if you're going to do corporate naming rights, O.co is not bad because of this, because of the O, because of Oakland. So I get it. Like, that wasn't so bad in the whole scheme of things. Go ahead.
And then, of course, Ring Central.
Ring Central.
Ring Central.
Ring
Murf,
Central.
These are horrible. These are horrible.
We should have sold a lot more T-shirts, and we could have named it.
Yeah.
Could have been the RFR Coliseum.
The RFR Coliseum.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
But that's not the worst.
Okay.
Those are not the worst.
Oh, those are not.
No, they're in football lore.
Okay.
There is worst names.
Oh, gosh.
You have the list?
I got yeah. Well,
Hit us with a couple of
okay. All right. So when it comes to corporate naming rights, there have been some real doozies over the years.
It's all about money.
It's all about money. And look, we get it. I get it. I'm a business guy. I'm a capitalist at heart, man. I get it. Doesn't mean I like it, but I get it. You're not going to catch me. I almost got political. Almost said you're not going to catch me voting for Bernie Sanders, but none of you should either. Okay. You vote for anybody else, but no, I'm kidding. All right. Easy. Save the tweets. I'm just being silly. Okay. So I get to understand the concept of the corporate naming rights. All right. So here's some fun ones. How about Uncle Mosh? Does this inspire you as a collegiate athlete? that works your entire life to make it to a bowl game, and you've been awarded the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl.
The cool thing about that, if you won that, you didn't get a ring. You got a bracelet.
You got like a patch or something. Yeah.
The San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl.
Doesn't inspire.
I'm not even sure I can say poinsettia correctly twice.
Ah, jeez. Yeah, that was not good. Another one that it wasn't so bad when it got named, but it obviously failed miserably for a lot of obvious reasons. That was Enron Field.
Enron
One of
Field.
the talk about corporate corruption.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go, Bernie fans. Yeah.
That's like naming a boating company. Hey, Titanic Lines presents.
Yeah. There you go. That was a good
How
one.
about this one?
Okay, this is your favorite.
This is my favorite. The Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl. What the hell is a Gasparilla?
I don't know. I know what a Bad Boy mower is. Those big zero-turn mowers.
Those are great. I love them.
Yeah, but I don't. What's a Gasparilla? If somebody in the chat knows what a Gasparilla is, please let us know. I don't even. Can you say that? I guess
Gasparilla.
It's Gasparilla. I know what sarsaparilla
right,
is,
and I know what a gorilla is.
and I know what gas is.
Yeah,
But Gasparilla?
Gasparilla.
Oh, that's bad. All right, so we got two more for. Let me give the next one, then you give the very last one. Okay, so the next one we love pop culture around here. You guys know that. So one of my favorite corporate sponsors, and I tried to get Uncle Mosh and I coached a whole bunch of little league teams for many, many years. I tried to get our team sponsored by this company just because of the movie reference.
Oh yeah,
and that's Chico's Bail Bonds. I so bad wanted our kids to have Chico's Bail Bonds because then the best is that the best is on their logo. It's got a picture of a bell and it says "Let Freedom Ring." It's the best. Chico's Bail Bonds, man.
Chico's Bail Bonds.
It's the best.
Love it.
But there's one. So that one's funny. But then the all-time absolute worst, Mosh. Give it to him.
I don't know that in the history of sports, all sports, any sport, there is a worse name ever associated with a team, and this name is associated with a team, and it's Mile High Stadium.
That's an awful name.
What a terrible name.
What a terrible
What
name.
a terrible connotation. Where would you play your home games?
Ugh.
Mile High Stadium.
There's a legacy of hatred for that place in our family now because we're such big Raider fans. So Uncle Mosh's big brother, my Uncle Bruz, back in I'm guessing 81-ish maybe.
Yeah, I just got out of the Air Force, so yeah, it was 81,
81,
somewhere around there, early 80s maybe.
There's a phenomenal picture of him standing out in front of Mile High.
It's iconic, dude. Giving
him the big old finger, man, and I'll share it with you. I've shared it's on our Instagram. If you guys follow us on Instagram, look for Raiders Fan Radio on Instagram, and it's our Uncle Bruz, man. It's and that was before like doing that was cool.
Right.
Like
right.
Uncle Bruz invented that. It's such a fantastic picture, man. It's so we got no love for old Mile High.
Yeah, that place.
Yeah. All right, Uncle Mosh, let's get into some here's a fun topic for you.
Okay, hit me with something fun.
All right, here's something fun. All right, so in putting together the actually no, we got one more. I got the Gil Branson tweet. Oh no, we did that already.
You did that.
We did that. Never mind. Okay, so we put together a list of some of our draft prospects and free agent targets for the Raiders, and I wanted to cover one of each on each episode leading up to the draft. So last week we covered Quinnen Williams and Landon Collins. And this week we're going to cover Greedy Williams out of LSU and Frank Clark out of Seattle. So here's where I kind of went off the rails a little bit, and here's where we're going to have some fun before we get to that. So last week was Alabama, and this week LSU. Were two of the schools featured. So I started thinking about this Greedy Williams, and he's a corner, and LSU, man, there's a lot of good defensive backs that come out of LSU. And I thought, man, they're kind of known for that, And then I started thinking about other schools and what they're known for. And So of course, you think about Miami and you think about running backs, you think about Penn State and you think about linebackers, right? You think about like there's schools that are known for, well, the California schools are known for their quarterbacks, but there's another school that's known for their quarterbacks. And here's where it gets Raider related, is Alabama. So I said all that because it's going to set this up, and I'm going to give you guys some fun trivia here. But before I do that, I got to make it official, Mosh. We haven't done this in a while.
Murph's Black Hole of the Internet.
Whoa, that was loud.
Yeah, that blew my ears out.
Did I blow your ears out? Sorry, guys. I got some new stuff here working, and I wanted to blow out your ear. I'll have that leveled out for the podcast. But anybody watching right now on YouTube, you probably just lost your eardrums there. Sorry about that. All right, so make it official there. Black Hole the Internet. So I started thinking about an old trivia question, Mosh. One of my all-time favorite trivia questions, and it's got a Raider theme through it, was at the time there were 4 schools, okay? There used to be 3, and then it went to 4. 4 schools that have had 3 quarterbacks start in the Super Bowl. So those of you that are listening, this is some fun bar trivia, or next time you're hanging out with buddies watching a game, whatever. So 3 schools, each have had 3 quarterbacks start in the Super Bowl. Well, now the one of those 4 have gone to 5. So there's 3 schools with 3 and 1 school with 5 quarterbacks that have started in the Super Bowl. So here's where it's Raider related. You want to guess at least one of the Alabama names, Mosh? Stabler, right? Okay, so the names for Alabama. So the 3 guys that have started in the Super Bowl that were Alabama alumni are Joe Namath, Bart Starr, and Kenny Stabler, right? So those are your 3 starting quarterbacks. Now, those guys all coincidentally have won. Now, that's not what the trivia question is. It's guys that have played or started in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Those 3 just happen to have won. But you want to take a wild shot at the others are not as obvious as you think they might be. You want to take a wild shot at what some of the other schools are?
Notre Dame?
They're great. Wow. Nice job, Mosh. Okay. Notre Dame. So Notre Dame gives you Joe Montana,
right?
Joe Theismann, and another Raider, Darryl LaMonica.
Oh,
okay. So all right. So you get the kind of the idea of the trivia here.
I forgot about Theismann. I was thinking LaMonica and Montana, but I forgot about Theismann.
Forgot about that, right? So there's your second school with 3 quarterbacks started in the Super Bowl. The third school, this one nobody ever gets. Nobody ever gets the third one, and it's Purdue, because you don't think of Purdue, right?
No.
But you get Drew Brees, you get Bob Greasy, and you get Lenny Dawson. So there's your 3 quarterbacks. All right, so then here's the kicker, right? So here's the big one, and this is what made me think of the California schools. One school in particular, the University of California. Check this out, Raider Nation. You got 5 starting quarterbacks from the University of California now that Jared Goff has started in the Super Bowl. So you got Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Kapp, who was the quarterback of the first Vikings team before Francis.
Wow.
Craig Morton and freaking Vince Ferragamo, another Ram. So you got 5 Cal quarterbacks, 2 of them were freaking Rams that have started in the Super Bowl. So there's some fun trivia for you guys. Amaze your friends, win a beer by it, and have fun with that. It was one of my all-time favorite trivia questions. Schools that have had most starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl.
Hey, good job on that black hole. We haven't had a black hole presentation in a while.
It's been since the offseason.
Now we're in the offseason.
We're in the offseason.
Yeah, all right.
We'll get them coming, man. Absolutely. So I appreciate that. So all right. So to get on to some of the players, Mosh. So as far as draft prospects go, as I mentioned, LSU is famous for their defensive backs. And so this week we're going to look at Greedy Williams. Greedy Williams is a corner at LSU. Gosh, he just the stats are perfect. 6'3", big corner, 184 pounds. He's only a sophomore, so he's only 21 years old. He won't be 22 until December. So, I mean, he won't be 22 until well after the season is underway.
Wow.
He was an All-American consensus in 2018, 2-time first All-SEC player in 2017 and 2018.
What a stud.
He's a stud. So Raider Nation, there's a lot of options for the Raiders at the number 4 pick. When we do these draft reviews leading up to the draft, we're only going to be looking at the number 4 pick because the rest of it is so volatile that you just don't know where we're going to end up. But we can kind of hone in a little bit on what they're going to do at number 4. So last week was Quinnen Williams, and then now this week, Greedy Williams. Some of his career highlights, he's got a 40% completion percentage against him. That's number 8 amongst the Power 5 corners and number 3 in the SEC. So definitely top of his class. He had 9 pass breakups. In terms of NFL passer rating, if you try to equate it to that, the quarterbacks that threw against him would only have a 58.6 passer rating. It's like 158.3 or whatever the heck it is a perfect rating. So this guy to only have a 58 passer rating against him is pretty solid. And then, of course, he had 2 interceptions, which is number 2 among SEC cornerbacks. So the guy's got the credentials. He's got the size. He's got the speed. We'll see what he does at the combine. But I think this would be a great addition. He's young. This could be our next, I don't want to get all crazy here, but you know what I'm saying? Hayes and Haynes. This could be our next, Conley. And this guy, look, if Conley played as well as he did in the back half of the year, you know what I mean? He could be something here. And I look, you need corners. You got to cover in today's NFL.
Yeah,
It's just the way that it goes, man. You got to be able to cover. And especially as we saw in this postseason, they're going to let him play a little more. They're going to let him get a little more handsy. So to have a nice big corner, 6'3", to go up. Look, what would this guy do against Tyreek Hill? Now, he may not be able to keep up with him in a flat foot race, but oh my gosh, man, he could manhandle Tyreek Hill. And he could cover Travis Kelce.
And he's got a great football name.
Yeah, tell him about how he got his nickname, Mosh.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, Greedy, it's on that middle line there. Do you see that? You want to read it to him?
Yeah. It's just so this is the first time I've read this, but if I do a little bit more prep.
I try to hook you up, Mosh.
Williams was nicknamed Greedy by his aunt, who called him Greedy Dee after babysitting him as an infant. His mother later took out the Dee, and Williams adopted the name in 2015. He told USA Today, "I love my nickname. They say it's a great DB name. It helps to be greedy as a defensive back." Yeah,
absolutely. Isn't that cool?
Nice.
Yeah, very cool. So we're going to look, these are not my picks. These are not our predictions. These are not what we think is going to happen. These are just some players that I think are based on what the Raiders' needs are, some players that we could definitely look at with that number 4 pick. I'll just put it like this. As a fan, and that's all that I am, these guys that we're bringing up here in the next few weeks, these are guys that if the Raiders drafted it, it wouldn't get a big from me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, okay, I see it.
And we do this every year.
And we do
because there's literally hundreds of guys out there, and when we pick 2 or 3 or 4, go back to the years of the show. And you'll see that, and it's like, oh man, it would be great to have him. Wait, who'd they pick?
Yeah.
Who was that guy?
Well, and especially 2 years ago with the linebackers, that was the one where we just.
You were in a deep depression.
I kind of lost a little bit on that one. It wasn't like in a weird way. It just confused the crap out of me. And granted, I just got done bragging on Gary and Conley. I mean, I'm glad he's turning into the player that he is, but holy cow, we needed a linebacker. And there was a bunch of them in that draft. Yeah. And I'm like, what the crap? I'm like, why do we not take one of these? There's like 9 all-pros on the board at inside linebacker, and we didn't take any of them. We took Gary and Conley.
Breathe, Murph. Breathe.
See what happens?
Moving right along.
All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at some free agent targets. Last week for us, we talked about safety. We talked about Landon Collins. This week, we're going to look at the edge. And I think this is important to do in tandem, looking at draft and free agents. Because, look.
Okay. You have to do both.
You have to do both because the free agent signings are going to influence what we do in the draft. Everybody in the world wearing silver and black right now is completely locked into the idea that the Raiders need a pass rusher. Well, if we sign Frank Clark in the offseason and all of a sudden we have a little bit of depth there and we can trade down and get a Montez Sweat later in the draft, then how important is it? So you see what I'm saying? So you gotta consider the big picture. Don't any of these mock drafts that you see and any of this stuff with this craziness is Ken Cruz and I also ran into on Twitter this week were guys that are playing Madden with these mock drafts. It's like, look, you can't predict what's going to happen with this football team from not even the first 3 picks. Good luck with that, let alone trying to figure it out, because you got to be informed by free agency first and foremost. This is what's going to dictate what happens then. So Frank Clark as a free agent target, I think, is an awesome consideration for the Raiders. They're going to have the money, and he's going to get a lot of it, but he's not going to get as much as Khalil Mack. And he was, frankly, when you look at his numbers, he really wasn't all that less productive than what Khalil Mack is. So he's looking at projected numbers. Again, this is just throwing it out there. 5 years, about $87 million with 53 guaranteed. So that's 60%, 65% of what Mac got.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mac got what, 140 at 90 guaranteed or something like that. So you're talking about 87 at 53. That's a lot more palatable of a figure, and it allows you to go out and spend money elsewhere. So
and he's 26 years old, 6'3". He's a stud. He's in his prime.
Yes.
Come on. Geez, nice choice.
Absolutely. He's a young guy. So we look at his at his tackles, Mosh. He's got let's see where we got we're looking for combined numbers there. Okay. So he had 16 tackles in 2015, his rookie year, then went up to 47, then 32, and then last year had 41 tackles to go along with 13 sacks.
So he's got, in 4 years, he's got 136 tackles. 92 of those were solo tackles.
Oh.
Last year was his biggest year they had 33 solo tackles last year.
That's
what a
awesome.
stud.
What a stud. And when you look at his production, now look, the Seahawks are known for their defense, but frankly, they haven't had much of a pass rush really the past year or say 2. So when we look at Seattle's pass rush, though, they recorded pressure 31% of the time for opponents' dropbacks. Okay, so consider that. So a third of the time that the opposing quarterback is dropping back, they're getting pressure. Well, that's only good for 23rd in the NFL. All right. Well, of that number, so you got a collective 31%, 24% of it came from Frank Clark.
Yeah, so a fourth of it.
A fourth of it came from him, from one guy.
Wow.
So when you talk about the production that this guy had, he about single-handedly determined the outcome of the Seahawks pass rush. Now, do you think that's a guy the Raiders could use, Raider Nation?
Ooh.
Heck, I mean, Come on. Yes, that's exactly what we need. And look, and you're talking about a price tag much lower than that player that shall not be named. And you could trade down and then pull somebody else and actually have what we call depth, which is how teams win. Because then you got guys like Arden Key, and you got Frank Clark, and then you got the young rookie, whoever you draft. Like, then the piece starts to come together for the pass rush and for the depth, and not all your money is tied up into one player. So, anyways, I think Frank Clark is definitely a candidate and could be a very, very welcome addition to our Oakland Raiders.
Here is latest draft.
There's a draft!
Today's our draft.
Watch out for drafts.
This is the NFL draft.
The first draft. Look, I'm entering the draft.
Let's go and pro in the draft.
You're going to the draft?
Sure, fire first round draft pick.
Draft looks solid.
Good luck with the draft today.
They drafted me.
Apparently you were drafted.
I drafted you.
I got drafted.
Another successful draft.
Yeah. Shallow draft.
Draft picks.
It's my third draft.
You only get drafted once.
Well, it's draft day.
Let's talk about the draft.
This is gonna be the worst draft yet. It's our draft.
You draft me in the first round.
Number 1 draft choice, signed a big contract.
Excellent draft.
Building. Nashville day. Nashville day.
Here's your favorite, Mosh.
Yeah.
Uncle Mosh loves that soundbite.
That is so fun. That is such a fun
That's a fun one. That's a fun one. Okay, so in terms of the draft, for those of you that don't know, and I don't know how you don't if you're listening to us with any kind of regularity, the 2019 NFL Draft is in Nashville, Tennessee, and since Uncle Mark, I just used your real name. I haven't done that yet on the show.
Ever.
That's the first time I've ever done that on the show. All right, I'm sorry. Not that you never call me Josh. So Uncle Mosh and I relocated to Middle Tennessee from the Bay Area a number of years ago now. And but
God, my memories of Bay Area are about in black and white anymore, buddy.
It's been a long time since you lived there. Since you went to the military.
77.
Wow.
I left in October of 77.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was almost on the nose 20 years later.
Wow.
Because I left. Oh, actually, a little bit before that. A little bit before that was when I left.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. It is crazy.
Woo.
It is crazy. A long time, but it's amazing how this sports stuff stays.
I've lived almost half of my life here in the South.
I know, huh? That's crazy.
Jeez.
That's crazy. Okay, so
we just went in the way back.
Yeah, I know, huh? We're like drifting off. Yeah.
Oh, Bobby Wasabi picked right up on it.
What's that?
Uncle Mark. One of these days, I'm going to tell the most famous Uncle Mark story.
You want to do it now?
Yeah, no.
Okay. All right. Well, save it because we only got to.
We got to roll.
We will run short on time, but yes, put a pin in that one.
Absolutely.
It's one of the.
It's
one of the best.
One of these days when I need to get you.
There you go. Yeah, one of the best. All right. So here in Middle Tennessee, downtown Nashville, Tennessee, is going to be the 2019 NFL Draft. If you need to know about the draft, you can listen to as far as the specifics of the draft and what's going to go on, the events that surround it. Please tune into last week's show. Goodness gracious. I gotta quit drinking while I'm
I know, right?
Well, not alcohol, but you know what I mean. My LaCroix, my freaking hipster water.
I hate that stuff.
My hipster water. You don't like it?
No, it's stupid.
Why is it stupid? Because it doesn't have vodka in it?
So this is my take on LaCroix water.
All right. Now, you won't tell the Uncle Mark story, but you'll tell a LaCroix water story. You'll scream at me about my water, my flavorless freaking hipster water.
So I drink. I got water in here, and I get that Mio, right?
Yeah, you squirt it in there.
You squeeze it in there.
Yeah.
Don't do it right in your mouth.
No. It dyes your tongue.
Because then somebody will make you laugh and you snot it out and you got orange boogers for weeks. But that's not what I'm here to tell you about. I got a theory on LaCroix water. I say that somebody had an empty thing of Mio.
Okay.
And they could get one drop out of Mio into a can of sparkling water.
Yeah.
And they get one drop, not enough to do anything. It doesn't make your teeth orange. It doesn't do anything. It gives you a slight little taste. And they go, oh, that's just a little tiny bit. That's like the French. Their food's a little tiny bit. Let's call it LaCroix. Your water sucks.
Jeez, Mosh. Killing me.
It's not real water. It's
sparkling water, and it's got
okay, Murph.
And it's got
sparkles.
Look at, and it's got berries in it.
Oh my God! Call Alan. See if he needs a roommate. For those of you that don't know, that's my other nephew who lives in the Bay Area, who's a 49er fan.
Yeah. All right. So my pansy water aside. How we got there from the draft, I don't know. All right, let's get back into the draft. So, if you need to know about the events surrounding the draft, check out last week. But we do want to definitely tag on our meetup. So there are a handful of people already that have registered. Go to our Facebook page. It is at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Just go to Facebook, type in Raiders Fan Radio. You'll find our show page. And then there's an event on there for our listener meetup. There are 18 so far, Mosh, so we're not going to be by ourselves. We're not going to be looking at each other. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a live stream on the Saturday of the draft. It's going to be over lunch. So come hang out with us, have some food. The name of the place is the Bavarian Beer House, and it's a new place, but it's built like an old school, big, giant German Hofbrauhaus.
The Hofbrauhaus in Munich, which I've been to before, and it's an amazing mock-up. It's so cool. It's
absolutely.
Got, the community tables and the Oompa bands and the big frosty mugs of beer and an MP5.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I'm not in Germany. I'm in heaven. A 6'5" buxom blonde with a machine pistol, and I'm like, oh yeah. So anyway, they bring us our beers, right? And they were the huge steins, and then they had big old, like a foam head on it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that would never fly in the States. And I'm like looking at it, and I didn't know a lot about German, and the guy sitting next to me goes, what is broken English? What are you looking at? And I go, well, there's so much foam on it. And he goes, we do that on purpose here. And I go, why? And he goes, because if the more foam you have, and how many years we've been drinking beer, right?
Yeah,
He goes, the
all of
more
them.
foam you have on it, it gets the bubbles out so you can consume more.
You're like, you just became my best friend.
I'm like, you Germans know everything.
So, yeah, they have definitely engineered beer drinking along with cars and everything else. So, so that's this Bavarian beer house. And so we've got a party room, essentially. We can take plenty of people. We can fit well over 100 people in there. And so if you're coming to the draft, please join us. Please make Raiders Fan Radio Listener Meetup a part of it, of your draft experience. And the place that we're doing at, this beer house is at the Opry Mills Mall, which is this big, giant mall that's got tons of stuff, tons of shops and restaurants and movie theaters and a Bass Pro Shop and all kinds of stuff for the family to do. So if your wife doesn't want to sit around and look at us two knuckleheads talk about the Raiders for an hour and a half, come and hang out with us and let the family go and do family stuff, or please stay and be part of it. It is a family-friendly environment, and the more the merrier. So we hope to see you there. We hope to see you in Nashville. And we hope to get in touch and meet a lot of you face to face, which is what we kindly refer to as the Sea of Fans, Mosh.
There he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught, he's thrown. It is.
All right, if you want to get made, as the shirts say, if you want to get made here on Raiders Fan Radio, there's only one way to do it, unless you're going to email us from England 117 times.
Hey, so you brought up Get Made, our new shirts.
Yes.
Okay, what I'm wearing. So a couple of the guys, the regulars, our crew, said, hey, what about those of us that are made? Maybe our shirt should say, Got Made.
Got Made. Oh.
Might have to be the real deal. And it's a select few that can order those.
That's pretty awesome.
And
there's a few guys that I was going to send stuff to anyways, just as a show of thanks for all the things that they've done to support our show. Done. That's fantastic.
I wish, once again, I can't take credit for that.
Oh,
I wish I could.
Well,
but
because the chat is our brain trust.
Well,
like
and
they're way
they
smarter
know.
than we are. Yeah,
they know.
Absolutely. So anyway, so if you want to get made here on Raiders Fan Radio, call the Raiders Fan Radio hotline 3 times. That is 909-345-3346. Leave us a message. Get your message played 3 times here on the air, and you become a made man. And there is a made man of the made men. We call him the Capo, and he is Aaron the Q-Dog Raider, and he always kicks off our Sea of Fans mailbag. I think.
Greetings. Aaron, your Q-Dog Raider coming to you from the east side. Murf, Sonny, Mosh, Little Murf. The Raiders are relying on several young players to grow up quickly and take on leadership roles. And Arden Key is, he's taking the initiative to become that guy. Specifically, let's talk about Key and his current recruiting campaign. On Monday, he began recruitment of several players via the Twitter sphere by reaching out to safety Tyrann Mathieu, safety Landon Collins, who we talked about last week, edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney, linebacker Quan Alexander, and defensive end Brandon Graham. Excellent. Super leadership, but I have a question. You mean to tell me C.J. Mosley doesn't have a Twitter handle? Come on, 99, get this respect together. But anyway, the Oakland Raiders are inevitably going to be leaving NorCal in order to go to, Sin City. But according to Phil Mattier of the San Francisco Chronicle, the Raiders are closing in on a deal to play once again in Oakland Alameda Coliseum for the 2019 season. Rue, the option is for an extra year in case the Vegas Stadium isn't completed, and that would put them there for the 2020 season. But that is highly unlikely at this point. But this gives owner Mark Davis, who has obviously mastered the teaching of Donald Trump's art of the deal for his continual blundering of the 2019 home field scenario, yet in no way is this a foregone conclusion. On the other options, Everything is faded out. And playing in, even San Diego seems remote at this point. I mean, we were supposed to come up 2 weeks ago with where we're going to be our home stadium field and all that. So we really need to get that together. Now, Mitchell Renz posted on his blog a question, and this question just simply isn't going away. And the question being is Derek Carr and the 25th pick going to the New York Football Giants in exchange for Odell Beckham Jr.? I'm feeling it. But BetDSI released their odds on the NFL teams and likely who's going to be drafting the little Smurf Kyler Murray. Now, the Raiders came back with the most odds on this becoming a reality. But anyway, I've been on the phone with several of my partners and stuff, texting back and forth about what the Raiders are going to do with the trades and things of that nature. But imagine this, a retooled offense for the Oakland Raiders for 2019 featuring OBJ, Antonio Brown, Kyler Murray, Beast Mode, Chris Warren III, Bryce Love, and or Benny Snell or Damian Harris. Pair that with a defense-heavy draft to include Josh Allen, free agents Landon Collins, C.J. Mosley, Brandon Graham, and Jadeveon Clowney.
Respect.
Yeah. We're ready to play some ball. Now, the hit list, Tom Cable and Johnny Townsend. Respect to Emilio, the Big Raider Trucker, Mojo Raider, B-Dog in a Pasture, Raider Ron, and future made man, Raider Ramon in West Virginia. Root.
Oh, man, awesome call as usual.
Always.
Aaron, the Q-Dog Raider, he's the man for a reason. We call him Capo. And, he talked about what Arden Key was doing, playing Baby Reggie now that Bruce Irvin is gone. And I have the tweets here. He tweeted all those guys that he mentioned. And he says, y'all come be an Oakland Raider. Let's change our culture around here. And I know y'all want to be in Vegas. He says, y'all come be an Oakland Raider. Let's build something special. So I think that's cool, man. I love it when the players lobby on behalf of the organization. I think that's pretty cool. And, we're going to talk a lot bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about Derek Carr, some more as other callers have brought him up as well. Let me just say this. I'm a Carr guy. We are Carr guys. We root for Carr, and I'm going to give you more specifics on that later that kind of justifies and leads me to where I'm at. I'm not a blind loyalist to Derek Carr by any means. But there are some things that are very intriguing. While I don't think that a straight trade for your starting or your quarterback for a wide receiver is necessarily the appropriate swap of talent, but I get where he's going with it. And I think that if you're building for Vegas, the most, the entertainment capital of the world, you could turn the Raiders into must-see TV pretty dang quick, regardless of performance. Like, you could turn it just on name recognition alone. You could make the Raiders very easily must-see. Now, whether that will translate to wins or stuff, I don't know. And I have a little bit of heartburn when it comes to the whole dream team type scenarios and teams that look good on paper and all that. I'm all about depth, and I think football is all about depth, and I don't think you do it with a few flashy names. But I get where he's going with it, so I could definitely appreciate the thought. So great call as always, Aaron, the Q-Dog Raider.
It's funny that as we get into Paul, his weekly email, talking about dream teams, because he kind of includes one here.
Okay.
So I'll read it to you. It says, "Hello, fellas. Hope you're well. Another week of the preseason has passed, and things have gone a little quiet as thoughts turn toward the combine, draft, free agency part of the year. My Raider week started in style with you guys bestowing the honor of made man on me. The honor was doubled as I got to share it with James from Arkansas. To share it with a member of your armed forces is an extra treat." Well, thanks for that on his behalf. The day after, I was followed on Twitter by Gorilla Rill, which blew my mind.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's cool,
Nice. Yeah.
I saw some YouTube footage of John Matuzak and Ted Hendricks hitting some poor guy this week. Whoever it was, he's still laying there. And it made me feel guilty that they weren't included on my Mount Rushmore. So I got to thinking, who would be my favorite starting Raiders lineup since I've been watching? The greatest team of all time. Now, that would be different.
That's fun.
For example, I never saw Stabler play, so I couldn't include him. A little license has been taken with a couple of the selections, but here it goes.
Okay.
So I like how he said the people that he has seen play.
Yeah.
You can't go back in time, but
those are those are always the best lists, are the ones where you put parameters, like you put rules on it.
Yeah.
That always, because then it makes you think. You know what I mean? Like what you do with our Mount Rushmore. So
sure.
Great,
so
great question. Go for it.
Quarterback, Jim Plunkett.
Nice.
Running back, Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson. Wide receiver, Cliff Branch and Timmy Brown. Tight end, Todd Christensen. Center, Dave Dalby. Guard, Charlie Hanna and Mickey Marvin. Tackles, Bruce Davis and Henry Lawrence.
Nice.
Nice.
I like
lineup.
it, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
On defense, Howie Long and Lyle Alzado.
Oh, my
defensive
gosh.
end.
Awesome. Yeah.
Tackles, Greg Townsend and Reggie Kinlaw.
Oh.
Linebackers, Ted Hendricks, Matt Millen, and Rod Martin.
Oh, beautiful.
Jeez. On the corners, Lester Hayes and Charles Woodson.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. He didn't go with the Hall of Famer, Mike Haynes.
I know,
he
right?
He goes with Woodson. Well, of course, Woodson's going to be a Hall of Famer, too.
Okay. Safety, Mike Davis and Van McElroy.
Nice.
Punter, Shane Leckler. Okay. And then, of course, Seabass.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then coach, of course, Tom Flores.
And that's fun,
yeah,
man.
and
That's cool.
What a
Yeah.
neat thing to do. Just the players you've seen play. Yeah, so I realize that it's heavily 80s based, so it's up to today's guys to earn the right to join my list. Thanks, guys. Love you, Raider Nation. Paul Egerton from Shropshire, Mississippi.
That's awesome. Well, the Raiders sort of won 2 Super Bowls in the 80s, so it's okay. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
That makes sense. I mean, those teams were littered with some of the all-time greatest players, certainly in Raiders history, so no shame in that at all. That was fun, Paul. Great email.
Yeah.
Great email as always, and once again, congratulations on being a made man, and appreciate the shout-out to James in Arkansas. All right, Uncle Mosh, new caller to the show. We're going to go out to, I don't know where in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of them states. It's either East Coast or Midwest, right?
Right,
Depends on where you're at. So I don't know if this guy's...
And they fight about it just like we fight about Middle Tennessee, West Tennessee,
Oh,
East Tennessee.
okay. So I don't know if this guy's a brethren of the New Jersey guys or if he's a more a Canton guy or whatever.
You know what I always like? You can always tell, other than Raider fans, who hates the Steelers more? Philly fans.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's hear from our buddy Jack in PA.
Hey, Uncle Mosh and Murph. This is Jack from PA. Hey, I've been a longtime listener, huge fan, but this is my first time calling in. Just a little backstory on how I became a Raider fan. The first NFL game that I remember ever watching was when the Raiders lost to the Bucs in the Super Bowl. I was just sitting on my dad's bed, just flipping through the channels, and happened to turn on that Raiders game. Sat there and was glued to the whole game, and ever since it's been history. Anyway, before the 3 minutes are up, I just want to get a couple things out there. I want to talk a little bit about the free agency and the draft. First, I'll go over what I think we should do in free agency, at least a little bit of that. So we are losing a ton of players in free agency this year. So our cap number that we are seeing right now is a little bit more limited than what it's going to be like, considering we're going to have to sign quite a bit of players in the off season. So as free agency goes, I think maybe we should pick up a middle linebacker, just because the draft doesn't seem to have too much talent this year. And for the rest of that, I know we need cornerback and safety and a bunch of offensive linemen for depth. So we're going to be signing a lot of players, maybe not tons of all-star cast players, but we're going to be picking up at least some good players in the free agency. For the draft, at least for the first round, our fourth pick, I think, should either go to Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams. I won't even mention Bosa because I doubt he will be there. If those two aren't on the board, I think that we are going to trade back or that we should trade back. The rest of our first round picks, I think, should either go to all defensive players, maybe a defensive lineman, defensive tackle, or maybe a safety or a corner. And if we're not going to do that, I think we should at least grab one offensive lineman at the 24th or 27th pick. The rest of the draft, I'm going to have to do a little bit more research, take a look at some more people, just so I can get a better understanding of what the landscape's going to be. Anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to thank you guys again. I'm scrounging all the time for new Raiders content, and you guys are awesome. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do, and we'll definitely be calling in again. All right, you guys, have a good one. Bye.
All right, there he is, Jack in PA. Thank you, Jack. Calling 2 more times, my friend, and you will join the crew and become a made man here on Raiders Fan Radio. So, yeah, a lot of good draft talk there. And, in Mosh, it's fun to speculate. I'm not going to crap on anybody for speculating, but I think here's what I think. And you guys are listening to our show, so I guess you care a little bit about what we think. Here's what I say about this mock drafts and all this stuff. As fans, I think it's fun, and especially if you keep it in perspective, it's fun to float out whatever craziness. Where I get crossed up is when the media does it. When people that are supposed to be journalists.
You mean folks that get paid to do it?
Paid to do it, respected journalists that should be accountable to their thoughts and opinions and their reporting. When they do it and it becomes news, that's when I have an issue with it. Right? You know what I mean? Because then what do you think?
I totally agree. Because half the time they make it sound like, oh, just in, breaking news.
Right.
And what they need to say is, my opinion.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Great call there. Thanks again, Jack in PA. All right. Houston Raiders Steve. We're going to hear from him next. Okay. I'll wait. I'll save my comments on Houston Raiders Steve until after the call, but this will be I'm interested to hear your feedback, especially because I know where I came out on this one.
Hey, Murf Mosh, this is Houston Raiders Steve. I saw the movie Cold Pursuit today, and Liam Neeson's character lives outside of Denver, Colorado, and he's out in his snowplow truck, and he's listening to talk radio, sports talk, and the question they put out is, who's the biggest or greatest Denver Broncos quarterback, John Elway or Peyton Manning? Being Raider fans and everything, I believe the Broncos are our biggest rival. And I just want to get your opinion, you and Uncle Mosh. Who do you think is the greatest quarterback for the Broncos, Manning or Elway? And maybe we can put it up as a poll thing up on the Facebook and do a fan vote. Anyway, great show. Take care and God bless. And go Raiders. We're going to be back this year, baby.
All right. I love you, Houston Raiders Steve. I know you're listening right now, and they may not live, but I know you're going to hear this. I love you. I appreciate every single one of your phone calls, and I'm going to play another one of your phone calls here in a minute. I'm going to play that second call because I'm going to hope that will redeem yourself from this long call. Because, Steve, if I put up a Broncos poll on our Raiders fan radio, that will be social media suicide for us. It is never going to happen. Now, I'm all about the NFL. I love the NFL, love the sport. I'm more than just a Raider fan. I'm a sports nut, and especially I'm an NFL nut. And so the conversation is interesting, but you're never going to catch us debating who the best Bronco anything is ever anywhere near this show. That was never going to happen, my friend.
You and I have debated ad nauseum the fact that I like Pepe.
Yeah.
But I never recognized Pepe as a Bronco. Pepe wore orange because the University of Tennessee is orange.
Right, yeah.
And I would say, everybody out there on his team is wearing Bronco orange, but Pepe's in UT orange. I liked the guy because of his Tennessee connection.
Right.
I liked him when he was a Colt, but no. I never wanted the Broncos to win. I just wanted to see Pepe.
Yeah, and you're a fan of his, and you're a fan of his long before.
I get it. I'm a fan of his, not of theirs.
Yeah.
So to even, we talked about my brother flipping off Mile High Stadium.
Yeah.
We also have a picture of me outside of Elway's restaurant getting sick by the smell. This conversation ends right now.
Mosh, who is better, Dan Fouts or Phillip Rivers? Oh, my gosh. Sorry, Steve.
We love you, Steve.
We love you,
Keep
Steve.
calling, bro.
Keep calling, but calling.
Why you got to shake up the net?
But calling.
Why Steve got to shake up the net like that?
You keep calling, but calling with other ideas. Oh, we love you. We're just playing. Appreciate the input. And let's play another call. Let's cleanse the palate and go back to Houston Raiders Steve.
Murf and Mosh, Houston Raiders Steve. I ran into a friend of mine today, and he says, well, what do you think about Brady? You think he's the GOAT, the greatest of all time? And I said, well, being a Raider fan, I can't really say that, but I can see where people would say that. And he said, what about Belichick? And I said, Belichick? And he says, yeah. I said, well, same sentiment. I said, since the Tuck game, everything changed because we all know that it was a fumble that Woodson recovered, and it started the Patriots on their journey to. So he says, well, what do you think about Gruden? I said, I think he's great. He's building the team up. I'm excited about the 4 draft picks, and I just can't wait. He goes, I can't be a fan because of Marcus Allen, the way they treated Marcus. And I said, well, you have to realize if Al Davis thought he was being disrespected or he thought that it was all about the team, maybe he thought that Marcus thought he was a little bit above that. I mean, better than the team. And so that probably caused friction. And I said, well, a friend of mine ran into him at the concession stand, the game that Marcus Allen lit the Al Davis torch. And I said, I was there at that game myself. He was wearing my friend was wearing his jersey, Marcus's jersey, got a tap on the shoulder, and he looked around. It was Marcus Allen. He shook his hand. He says, thanks for representing me and wearing my jersey. So that was pretty awesome. I said, you know what? I said, you're an honorary Raider fan. I said, I thought about it later on, and I said, but like they say, there's 31 teams, and then there's the Raiders. The Raiders is something we do every day of our life. We're more than happy to wear the shield. The more they tear us down, the critics, the more we stand behind the shield. It's an attitude. In my job, I'm a conformist because I have to be, but outside, I'm kind of a free spirit, and it's just the attitude that we take on. I mean, as Raider fans, it's a choice. It's something I'll be the rest of my life. My mom would always ask me, well, how'd the Raiders do today? I loved Villapiano and Tatum and of course Stabler and Howie Long, Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, you name it. It was just amazing thing, It's just something that you can't really understand it unless you're a Raider fan, as you all well know. So, just want to get your thoughts about what you think about that, and go Raiders.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Redemption.
Yeah, right.
He
did
come
good.
on. And I thought, oh no, now so it was bad enough we're gonna have to debate Pepe and Elway, but now we're gonna have to debate Belichick and Brady, and then he lands with some nice old school stuff right there.
Yeah.
Houston Steve's a classic.
He's absolutely. And I love it. And he says, I'm a conformist at work because I have to be. But outside of that,
I love it.
I'm a free spirit. Great job. Great job, Steve. Absolutely. Great call. All right, let's go hear from another one of our made men and hear from our buddy Red up in Yakima, Washington.
Murf, Uncle Mosh, what's going on? Red up here in Yakima. Just thought I'd call and talk a little draft with you guys. We really need an edge rusher. I hear that. But I really don't think we're going to land Josh Allen or even Quinnen Williams at that. And I think if we would take a DB with that 4th pick, if we can lock down the corners, that'll lead to more coverage sacks. And because I think we can land a couple edge rushers later on in the draft. There's Jalen Ferguson, Carl Granderson out of Wyoming. We could probably land in the 2nd round. We can even get into the 3rd and 4th round and land Chase Winovich out of Michigan, or even Austin Bryant out of Clemson, or Ben Banagoo out of TCU. And later on in the rounds, I'd like to see us go after a couple wide receivers. There's David Sills out of West Virginia, be a later round pick. Lil Jordan Humphrey out of Texas. I've seen Hakeem Butler out of Iowa State linked to us. There's Jalen Smith out of Louisville. Would be a big possession receiver. And let me know what you guys got to say about that. Hope if we're gonna take the 4th pick on an edge rusher, I hope it's Clellan Farrell or Ed Oliver. Talk to you guys later. Go Raiders.
All right, great job, Red. Appreciate the phone call. So, yeah, to answer your question, you threw down a lot of names there, man. And there's a lot of guys, that, frankly, that I'm unfamiliar with. Some of the, like the guy from the Louisville wide receiver, some players that I'm not familiar with. But there's a few in there you're going to hear from us. So you ask about what my opinion is on it. You're going to hear more of that as we continue to highlight kind of some of the more high profile players and what the Raiders are going to do in that fourth spot. Because I think that's the one we can really hone in on, if they don't trade back. I mean, again, everything is contingent on free agency and movement. And as they call him now, Vegas Mike. I mean, you never know what that guy's going to do with the pick there. So we'll see, but a lot of moving parts, but appreciate the phone call. Appreciate dropping all the names, and I will definitely follow up on many of those. All right, Uncle Mosh, we have a lot of favorites around here, and man, one of the guys that's climbing the charts in my book is becoming one of the great callers of our show, and we're going to hear from our buddy Raider Beto. And Mosh, you know the city.
Yeah. Where's he from?
Raider Beto, you know the city. I'm so happy that I've been awarded the Sizzler. I only needed some huevos to do it. So Joe Skinny has been traded to the Burros, and I'm happy. Another inconsistent quarterback in Denver. Now, on a serious note, I'm so sick and tired of everyone wanting to trade Derek Carr. Pardon my language. I'm sick of this shit. Because, look, trading Derek Carr, we could have another Jamarcus in our hands. Or we could have a Pat Mahomes. But either way, or we could also have a whole decade of trying to find a quarterback going through backup quarterbacks. So I'm sick of this. Stop wanting to trade Derek Carr. Trade anyone else but Derek Carr. Anyway, there are signs that lead that Raiders are going to play in Oakland for the 2019 season, which that should have been the case, but I also kind of don't want them to play in 2019 season because I went to the last game in 2018, or so-called last game, and I kind of want to be like, oh yeah, I went to the last game, so I don't have to, go to the last game in 2019. But either way, so that's good that Raiders might play in Oakland again in 2019, and hopefully. And another thing, I don't really think the Raiders have a tough schedule. I don't know, I may be biased because Raiders all day, but I don't really think they have a tough schedule because the NFC North is pretty inconsistent. The only consistent team is probably the Bears, and yeah, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, but look what he did this season. AFC South, the only AFC South maybe, the AFC South is pretty inconsistent as well. Then you got the Jets, which is the Jets, so And I forgot the other teams, but yeah, I don't think the Raiders have a really tough season next year. It all depends who we get, you know what I'm saying? But, go Raiders and, go Dodgers.
It's always throwing in their Dodgers shots there. I respect a well-timed shot, though, in terms of sports rivalries.
Beto, Beto's on it, man. Yeah. I love it.
He got huevos and burros in there, man.
I love it when he throws some Spanish at us, man. I just love it, cool. Man. But he kind of dropped the ball a little bit.
He yoked the first two out of the park.
Yes.
But that third trip to the plate, like a Dodger, goes down swinging.
I'm telling you, even Babe Ruth had more strikeouts than anybody.
That's exactly right.
And he whiffed on one of them. Hit us with
He whiffed on one of them. So in terms of strength of schedule, those of you that are on the YouTube feed, you can see that I kind of threw it up there. Beto, the Raiders have the toughest in terms of strength of schedule heading into the 2019 season. So when we look at the collective winning percentage of the Raiders' opponents for the next season, they are number one in the league for toughest in terms of wins and losses. So the collective of the Raiders' opponents in 2019 won 137 games, lost 117, and tied 2, which gives them a 53.9% winning percentage. Next up is the Broncos. No surprise because we're in the same division, so we're going to have a lot of the similar opponents. Next up, the Broncos, then the Jaguars, Texans, Bears, Chiefs, Falcons, Colts, Titans, Vikings to kind of round out your top 10 with a few in there that are tied. Bottom of the list, listen to this, Mosh. Bottom of the list, Raider Nation, the lowest winning percentage, so the easiest schedules. Number 1, the Washington Redskins. But guess who's next? The Patriots and the Rams are next for easiest schedules. So guess what? Guess who's going to be in the AFC Championship game next year? And guess who better be there to knock them off, at least have a shot. Look, we started that dynasty. We kicked it off. Let's see if we can get a run at this thing to reverse the direction here and knock that dynasty down, and take out the Patriots. I don't know if we're going to have a team or not to take out the Patriots, but wouldn't it be poetic if we ever had a shot?
In Beto's defense, he did say that.
He did say that.
He did say we don't know what kind of team we're going to have, and then
That's
of course, and then he just chimed in when he says on the chat, he says, "Oh man, I forgot about the AFC West."
That's what got him. That's what got him because the division is San Diego. That team that wears the blue and the white, they were pretty darn good. And then of course we know the ketchup and mustard squad is pretty good as well. All right, next up, let's hear from our buddy Alex in Tucson, Arizona.
Hey guys, it's Alex Sandoval from Tucson, Arizona. I'm just calling in today wanting to talk about Derek Carr and the Raiders. So Derek Carr is a mediocre quarterback, and it's kind of tough to label him that. He's had a rough couple of years. He's had several head coaches. He's had several quarterbacks coaches. He's been injured. He doesn't have the best O-line. He doesn't have any more receivers. But when it's all said and done, he's a mediocre quarterback. Okay. My question to you guys is: at what point do you move on from a mediocre Derek Carr? For me, I believe in Derek Carr. I think Mike Mayock and John Gruden believe in Derek Carr. But at what point do you need to move on from him? Does that mean that we draft a quarterback this year in this year's draft? Does that mean that we give him, a chance this 2019 season, and maybe if he doesn't produce, do we consider drafting quarterbacks next season, or do we give him a longer kind of pass or extension past next year's draft? I don't know what it's a really hard decision to make. Would you guys be upset if we drafted somebody like Kyler Murray in the first round? I don't know, just a lot of questions, a lot of hypotheticals. In the end, I think Derek Carr is going to do it. I think that we're under great coaching with John Gruden. I think Mike Mayock is going to be great help. I hope that they can evaluate Derek Carr correctly and that we can get to winning again. All right, thanks guys. Have a good one. Bye.
He brings up a good point.
Okay.
When do you pull the plug? But my thing is, he's only had one season under the new regime.
Yeah.
And the conversation about pulling the plug, it's way too early right now. It's way too early.
Absolutely.
Right
and Mosh, there's a calling him mediocre. I think he's been victim of mediocre teams, mediocre coaching, mediocre environments, whatever you want to pin on. And now look, I'm not absolving him for any responsibility, especially early in the year. We've
been hard on him this show.
He threw some funky ass passes in the first part of the year this last year. There were some very questionable things that that guy did with the football. But also, look, there are very few players in the NFL, quarterbacks, I'm speaking of specifically, very few quarterbacks have and had the ability to elevate everybody around them to extremely high levels. Okay, so when you look at the guy in New England that everybody hates, that love him or hate him, he makes everybody around him better. He throws people open. There's a reason that he's had a revolving door at wide receiver and he still can win Super Bowls, okay? He makes those around him better. I think Drew Brees is one of those kind of guys, makes people around him better. I think Marino was one of those guys, makes everybody around him better. There are handfuls of guys, but you're talking about the elite of the elite, the best of the best. The most part of the NFL are guys like Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Joe Flacco, right? Even Roethlisberger. Like, that's the majority of the players. So what do those players need? They need a system. They need a defense. They need weapons. They need other things around them They're not going to just go out there and single-handedly be the elite of the elite and win you a championship. You got to have pieces around him. So here's what I say about Derek Carr. Once those things are around him, once we have a consistent pass rush and a defense that can get off the field with any kind of regularity, and he has a couple more than just a target, more than just Michael Crabtree to just throw it up to. Once he has 2 or 3 people to throw to, maybe a decent running game, an offensive line that can protect him. Once we get to that point and we still see failure, yeah, bye. See you later. Then I'm willing to move on from him, and you're never going to hear us apologize for him again. But you've got to take those things into consideration because, look, while he may be a good quarterback, he's not Tom Brady. Look, and I would love it if he was, but he's not. He's not even freaking, like I said, Dan Marino or whoever else you want to put out there. He's not that kind of a guy. He's that kind of a guy as far as a leadership goes. He's an amazing leader. But as far as arm talent and all that rest of the stuff, he's just not the elite of the elite. But listen, here's one other thing I got, and I'm going to break some news for you here too, Raider Nation. Neither was Stabler. Neither was Jim Plunkett. Neither was freaking Rich Gannon. And all three
Plunkett
of them
was thought to be a bust.
Yeah. And when you go back and watch Plunkett film, he wasn't dropping dimes 40 yards downfield like Kurt Warner was and coming out with like pinpoint precision and super high velocity or whatever. You know what he looked like? Peyton Manning in his later years. Wobbly, wounded ducks that just kind of find their way to people. That's what Plunkett was. So you don't have to have like some freaking super rock star quarterback to win a championship. You just don't have to have it. But you got to have other stuff to go around him. All right, let's move on. Mosh, I guess we're ready. Hit the button.
Sizzler. Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Sizzler. Hey, I didn't have to do it this time.
You didn't?
No, I hit the button correctly. So we're man, you're gonna be shocked on my Sizzler this week.
Okay, all right.
So a lot of folks, I love the chat. They chime in on who they think the Sizzler is.
Oh, I love it. Okay, right on.
And we kicked it off with Jack, first time caller out of PA. I loved how he started off. One of the questions we always ask: what's your family legacy? How did you become a Raiders fan? Talking about sitting on his old man's bed. That was great. He understood we need a linebacker. He did his draft research. Great call. Great call. And, of course, we had Houston Steve where he doubled up. Houston Steve went from feast to famine on us, man, with his Elway Peyton, and then redeemed himself on that next call when he was talking about Belichick. I love that. But he said something great. He said, there's 31 teams and the Raiders. And then, kicked it off, really brought himself back up there with all that old school talk, brought up Marcus Allen and that great story. And he's always got great stories. And Red and Yakima. Red, I think Q-Dog said that Red needs to be giving pep talks to the team,
Yeah.
He gave, what I liked about what Red did is he gave us a bunch of choices, but it wasn't all regional.
No.
It was national.
Yeah,
we you and I being here in the center of SEC country, we get our exposure to them. He went all over. But who can forget Beto and his huevos? 2 weeks in a row he hits us with the huevos, And then I loved his last game squared. I went to the last game, and then I'm going to go to the last game again. And it was a great call. And then, of course, Alex in Tucson. Is DC mediocre? He was bringing up something that we've all talked about, But our Sizzler today goes to Paul. Is from an email.
Oh, nice.
Paul kicks it off, thanking us for the draft and the combine, and he bestows, but he brings up Gorilla. And then he follows it in the next sentence with John Matuzak and Ted Hendricks smashing some guy and leaving him laying still in 2019. And then that great starting lineup from the teams that he's seen, giving us a whole new way, stuff that we can play with later on. So our Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Goes to newly made man, Paul Edgerton from Shropshire, Mississippi.
Awesome
through
job,
an email.
Paul. Congratulations, my friend. That is awesome, man. Good call, Mosh. Great call on that. All right, we are up against the clock. I hate to because, you need to play Rogues Gallery. Go for it.
We are Metallica, and we are here.
I was giving you the look.
Raiders! You know why we out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead to errant Jedi Knights. Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
Good one, Mosh.
Excuse me.
Hey, so do you remember the conversation we had before we started the show tonight?
Oh, yeah, we're going to go 45 minutes.
We're going to...
Yeah, 45. What are we at? 4 hours?
Well, I said, Mosh, we're going to be out of here in like an hour probably. I said, 90 minutes tops. We barely got anything. It's now, we're almost at the 2-hour mark, and I have 2 more things to play, but we're going to have to hold them, guys. I got a great couple of pop cultures. I didn't have to do any heavy lifting this week. Raider Nation, you guys hooked us up, and we got great calls from Raider Rue and also Jeff and SoCal, and they had Raiders and pop culture submissions, but I'm going to have to save them to next week, guys, because we're just out of time tonight, but I'm going to play them next week. I will put them. In fact, we may even do it at the top of the show just to make sure that we get them in, because I do appreciate those guys, and especially Jeff, because it was his first call. So I definitely want to honor Jeff and thank him for calling into the show. So we'll save that for next week. So Mosh, if you want to hit our outro stuff there. So just want to remind everybody, if you're coming to the draft, definitely hit us up. We are much appreciative if you would make Raiders Fan Radio part of your draft plans. Come have lunch with us. We're probably going to do this thing around noon. I said all that earlier and I never gave a time. We're going to look at right at noon to go live, and we'll do an episode of Raiders Fan Radio, and you all are going to be part of it. We're going to have extra mics set up, and so folks can come in and sit down with us so we can talk to our made men and kind of rotate folks through, and probably won't have any agenda other than to just maybe talk about what happened in the draft the 2 prior days, and then just talk to our made men, man, and just kind of have an episode celebrating the fans that are there, and Raider Nation that is there to do it big for the draft, man. It's going to be awesome, so please join us. Thank you for those of you that have joined us in the chat.
Are we back next week?
Are we?
I think we talked about February. We'll let you know.
We'll let you know if we're going to be back next week. For those of you that have joined us live tonight in the chat at youtube.com/Murph's Fan Cave, Running Bear, Zeke, I Like It Spooky, Raider Trav, Aaron the Q-Dog Raider, Joseph Morales, Primo, Bobby Wasabi. Appreciate everybody joining us in there. Tuklas, I see in there. Chris Potts, of course. Raider Critique. I can't scroll up and get everybody, but I appreciate you all joining us live. We appreciate you very much, and we will talk to you either next week or the week after. We'll let you know to that soon. But until then, Uncle Mosh,
thanks for
close us
listening
out.
tonight, everybody. For Murph, this is your old Uncle Mosh. And you've been listening to Raiders Fan Radio, where we take a lighter side journey into the dark side. Don't forget, what happens in Vegas started in Oakland.